Let's begin with something that sounds like mysticism, but is grounded in deep psychological truth. That quiet inner voice, the one that nudges you, whispers something is different about this person, tells you they are not just another passerby. That voice is not foolishness, it is not desperation. It is in many cases the expression of a highly attuned, intuitive intelligence that most people have been taught to ignore. You are biologically and psychologically wired to detect patterns, to recognize familiarity, not just in faces, but in behavior, in values, in energy. When someone deeply aligns with you, your psyche doesn't need a checklist to confirm it. It knows. You feel that sensation. A gut feeling, a magnetic pull, a sense of home is often dismissed as fantasy, but it's not. It's the subconscious bringing to your attention a recognition of values, desires, and unspoken dreams mirrored back to you. You don't know why you feel connected, but you do. And that connection is real. Yet what makes it difficult is this: recognizing your true love is not the same as being ready for them. You can meet someone who fits your soul like a missing piece of a puzzle and still find yourself unworthy of holding them. Not because you lack value, but because you haven't yet grown into the version of yourself that can sustain the relationship. People assume that finding true love means everything will suddenly become easy, but the truth is that love of this kind exposes you. It holds up a mirror to your deepest fears, your unresolved pain, your unfinished work. That person, the one your sixth sense points to, doesn't just bring joy, they bring discomfort. Why? Because your soul knows they are the real test. Not a distraction, not a game. The real thing. And the real thing always demands more of you than you've given before. You might run, many do. You might convince yourself it's too intense, too fast, too complicated. You may dismiss it as infatuation, but there will be a part of you that never truly lets go, because deep down your body knows, your heart knows. You saw something in them, not just their beauty or their ambition, but a reflection of the person you're meant to become. It's why you felt so alive around them. It's why you felt seen, because they didn't just meet your eyes, they met your potential. And that's terrifying. What makes true love so overwhelming is not just the connection, but the timing. Most people don't meet the right person when they're ready. They meet them when they're still broken, still figuring things out, still entangled in fears and dysfunctions. And so they fumble the opportunity, not because they don't care, but because care itself isn't enough. You need stability, you need self-awareness, you need courage, you need the maturity to handle what that kind of love demands. There's another cruel twist. Sometimes you realize who someone is only after they're gone. Because emotional clarity doesn't always arrive in the moment, it arrives in reflection. You remember the way they made you feel, the peace, the intensity, the depth of being understood. You realize in hindsight that this wasn't just chemistry, it was alignment. And then the question hits you, what did I do? Why couldn't I see it sooner? But maybe that was the point. Maybe they weren't meant to stay yet. Maybe their purpose was to awaken something in you, a standard, a vision, a realization that love like that exists, and that you are capable of attracting it again. Not because they'll return, although they might, but because now you know what to grow into. The sixth sense isn't mystical nonsense. It's a biologically driven, psychologically validated tool for survival and selection. And in the domain of relationships, it can be your greatest ally or your greatest tormentor, depending on what you do with it. You see, when you know someone is right for you, truly right, and you ignore it, something inside you deteriorates. You start to doubt your own intuition. You begin to mistrust yourself because you saw gold and walked away from it. That kind of self-betrayal costs more than heartbreak. It costs your confidence. your self-trust. That's why it's so vital to take your intuition seriously, even when it doesn't make sense to others, because they don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. They weren't there for those quiet, powerful moments when time seemed to slow down and the world fell away. They don't understand how rare that kind of connection is, but you do, and that knowing is sacred. Still, here's the hard truth. Knowing who your true love is doesn't always mean they're ready for you either. They may need time. They may be scared. They may be wrapped up in their own healing, and that's what breaks most people: the uncertainty, the waiting, the hope, the unanswered questions. But that's also where transformation lives, in the in-between, in the not yet, in the decision to grow regardless of the outcome. Your job isn't to chase them, your job is to become the version of yourself that can hold the kind of love your sixth sense already recognizes. That's the great responsibility of intuition. Shows you what's possible, not what's guaranteed. You're not just waiting for someone, you're preparing, sharpening, healing, building. Because if that kind of person exists, the one who lights your soul on fire and calms your chaos, then the worst thing you can do is meet them and not be ready. And readiness doesn't mean perfection. It means wholeness. It means being anchored in your truth, secure in your boundaries, open in your heart. It means learning how to communicate without fear, how to listen without ego, how to love without needing to possess. That's the work. And it's hard, but it's necessary, because you can't hold sacred love with shaky hands. You were given this sixth sense for a reason: to notice what others miss, to feel what others suppress, and to recognize in the face of doubt that the person who moves your spirit isn't just a coincidence. They're a call to rise, a call to grow, a call to love better, deeper, stronger. The mistake isn't in believing the connection. The mistake is in thinking that belief is enough. You will be challenged, you will be tested, and yes, you will be tempted to forget, to numb it out, to move on with someone easier, safer, more convenient. But a part of you will always know. Always remember, because true love brands the soul. It leaves an imprint that cannot be erased by time, distance, or denial. And so the real question is not whether they're the one. Your sixth sense has already answered that. The real question is, what will you do with that truth? Human beings are far more complex than most realize. And that complexity extends well into the subconscious realm, especially when it comes to attraction. When people talk about a sixth sense, particularly in the context of relationships, they are often referring to an internal mechanism that doesn't rely on conscious reasoning. It's a feeling, a knowing, a silent alarm, or a deep calm that arises before any facts or logic can be articulated. Many write it off as superstition or emotional impulse. But that instinct, that profound and often immediate recognition of someone's significance, is not a mistake. It's a sophisticated neurological and psychological function grounded in pattern recognition, emotional memory, and internalized values. Think about how the brain processes data. Every moment of your life, your brain is scanning for familiarity. It's constantly matching present experiences with past emotional imprints. You don't think your way into attraction, you feel it. And that feeling is your mind alerting you that it has seen this before. Not necessarily the exact person, but the configuration of qualities, beliefs, needs, and desires. In psychological terms, it's a combination of affective forecasting and implicit memory. Activation, your brain is registering someone not just based on how they look or speak, but based on how they feel to your internal landscape. Now, that doesn't mean that every strong intuitive pull is a green flag. It's entirely possible to be magnetized to someone based on unresolved trauma. But when it's healthy, when the attraction doesn't come with panic, anxiety, or obsession, but instead with clarity, peace, and intrigue, That's often a signal worth paying attention to. Your subconscious is alerting you to the presence of someone whose internal world is compatible with yours. And that compatibility is rarely about surface interests. It's about rhythm, emotional tone, the way their presence settles your nervous system instead of agitating it, the way you don't have to perform, you just exist. And that is enough. In fact, neuroscience supports the idea that much of what we call intuition is just ultra-fast processing. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex, a region of the brain involved in decision-making based on emotion, plays a key role in processing these gut-level experiences. It takes in non-verbal data, tone of voice, eye contact, body language, pacing of speech. It compares all that against years of emotional data and produces a feeling. And that feeling is often more accurate than rational analysis. Why? Because the brain is a survival machine. It doesn't waste time. If you've encountered thousands of people, but only a few made your entire being pause and take notice, there's a reason for that. When your intuition lights up about someone, you're likely perceiving emotional safety, integrity, openness, or resonance, things that your logical mind can take weeks or months to confirm. Intuition is pre-verbal wisdom. It's the capacity to discern without dissecting. And ironically, the more you try to analyze it, the more you obscure it. It's why so many people ruin potentially deep connections by overthinking instead of feeling into the moment. But here's the challenge. We live in a culture that worships logic and diminishes intuition. If you can't explain it, you're told not to trust it. If it doesn't make sense on paper, it must be wrong. But the heart, and by that I mean the integrated wisdom of emotion and cognition, doesn't operate that way. Real connection often doesn't make sense. You can meet someone who checks none of your boxes and still feel inexplicably drawn to them. Or you can meet someone who looks perfect on paper and feel absolutely nothing. Why? Because the subconscious doesn't care about resumes, it cares about truth, emotional truth, energetic truth, compatibility at the level of the nervous system. Now, to be clear, intuition isn't infallible. It can be shaped by your past, and if your past is wounded, your instincts may be tuned to dysfunction. That's why inner work is essential, because the more healed you are, the clearer your instincts become. A person who has spent time learning themselves, setting boundaries, and processing their traumas will experience a far more reliable sense of intuitive knowing. Their gut isn't just reacting to fear or fantasy, it's responding to a deeper, healthier template of what love and connection should feel like. There's also the concept of limbic resonance, the idea that two people's emotional systems can sync up in nonverbal ways. This is real, it's biological, it's not magic. It's neurons firing in rhythm, heartbeats slowing in response to safety, mirror neurons engaging as you recognize yourself in another person. And when that resonance occurs, when someone's energy settles your mind instead of disturbing it, when their presence makes you feel more like yourself rather than less, that's not coincidence. That's alignment. And it's worth listening to. But intuition also demands discernment. You have to be quiet enough to hear it and courageous enough to follow it. Most people hear the signal and then bury it under doubt. They let external voices override internal knowing. They rationalize away the truth that their soul already recognized. And by doing so, they betray themselves. They walk away from gold because they can't explain why it's valuable. So if you've ever met someone and felt that unshakable knowing, that sense of déjà vu, that soul deep recognition, that inexplicable calm, don't dismiss it. Investigate it. Not with fear or desperation, but with curiosity and presence. Ask yourself, what is it about this person that feels like home? What am I recognizing in them that I've been longing for? Maybe without even realizing it. Because that answer, that insight, might just lead you to the most important relationship of your life. When people speak of love, they often think in terms of passion, adrenaline, and the rush that comes with intense emotional stimulation. movies portray it as an uncontrollable fire, an overwhelming pull that sweeps two people off their feet. And while there is some truth to that, especially in the early stages, genuine lasting love often shows up in a much quieter form. It doesn't always knock you down. Sometimes it simply walks in and makes you feel more like yourself. That's what emotional alignment does. It doesn't create chaos, it creates coherence. You're not just drawn to the person, you're stabilized by them. This is a phenomenon many people overlook. They assume love has to be dramatic to be real. But in truth, the deepest connections often feel strangely familiar. It's as if you've known the person for years, even if you've only just met. They feel safe, not boring, not predictable in a dull sense. Safe in a way that allows you to breathe more deeply, speak more freely, and exist without constant self-monitoring. This is not accidental. It is your emotional system responding to someone who resonates with you on a level far deeper than shared hobbies or superficial chemistry. The nervous system is incredibly intelligent. It detects subtle cues in facial expression, tone of voice, pacing of conversation, and even micro expressions that last fractions of a second. And when you're with someone who is emotionally aligned with you, your body knows before your mind does, you feel calmer, you feel energized, but not anxious. You feel present. And that presence isn't forced. It emerges naturally because something in you recognizes something in them, a shared way of seeing, of being, of feeling. This is why some connections feel like coming home. It's not just about their personality, it's about their emotional blueprint lining up with yours. Their values mirror your own. Their way of handling conflict doesn't feel foreign or threatening. The way they speak to you doesn't put you on edge. It opens you up. Their presence doesn't trigger your defense mechanisms. Instead, it invites vulnerability. That is the magic of alignment. And it is far more rare than the kind of passion that comes and goes with novelty. Most people don't realize that emotional alignment is something you sense, not something you analyze. You don't need to list all the reasons someone feels right. You just know. And often this knowing is dismissed or questioned, especially by people who are used to relationships that are built on inconsistent intensity or emotional confusion. But here's the truth. If you've only known unpredictable love, then safety might feel strange at first. You might even mistake it for boredom, because your internal model of love is built on volatility. So when someone shows up with steadiness, with clear communication, with emotional maturity, it can be unsettling. But that unsettling feeling is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is healing. Real love doesn't trigger your trauma. It helps you release it. It doesn't keep you guessing. It gives you answers. And in the presence of such a person, you don't feel the need to perform, impress, or hide. You feel seen. You feel accepted. You feel mirrored in a way that makes your nervous system sigh with relief. Not because you're getting away with something, but because you're finally being fully yourself without punishment. This is the kind of person your sixth sense picks up on. The one who brings both peace and growth. Not growth through pain or pressure, but growth through safety and encouragement. They challenge you, yes, but not by tearing you down. They challenge you by believing in who you are at your core. They see your potential not as a demand, but as a truth. One they want to help you realize. And that belief creates the space for you to evolve, to open, to deepen. But here's the paradox. Most people are not conditioned to trust emotional familiarity. They've been hurt. They've been manipulated by charm. They've been drawn to the wrong people so many times that when the right one finally arrives, it doesn't always feel as dramatic. And because it doesn't feel like a roller coaster, they doubt its validity. But what they're missing is that real connection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. But in that quiet, there is power. In that quiet, There is truth. The irony is that the person who truly aligns with you won't always be the one who fits the fantasy in your mind. They may not arrive in the package you expected. They may not follow the exact timeline you imagined. But your emotional body will know. It will sense the absence of anxiety, the presence of clarity. You won't feel high, then low. You'll feel steady. Steady doesn't mean lifeless. It means sustainable. It means grounded. And from that groundedness, intimacy can grow, depth can form, love can expand. Not as a sudden burst, but as a consistent unfolding. It takes a certain maturity to recognize that kind of love, to see that emotional alignment is not something you can manufacture. It's either there or it isn't. You can't force someone to make you feel safe. You can't teach someone to understand your silence, to comfort you in the exact way you didn't know you needed. These are things that only come from a rare kind of resonance, the kind that your soul instantly identifies. So when you feel that, when someone enters your life and everything inside you feels calm, when their presence soothes you instead of excites your fears, when you stop bracing for the next emotional blow, pause, pay attention. Don't rush to control it. Just notice. Because emotional alignment doesn't scream for attention. It simply remains. It holds its ground. And in that groundedness, you may just find the love you never thought was real. The love that doesn't try to change you because it understands you. The love that doesn't try to consume you because it respects you. The love that feels, above all, familiar. One of the most overlooked truths about meaningful relationships is that timing is not just about calendars and schedules. It's about internal readiness. Two people can be deeply connected, aligned in values and chemistry, yet still miss each other if one or both are emotionally unprepared. Emotional availability is not just the willingness to be in a relationship. It's the ability to show up fully, vulnerably, and consistently, without armor, without manipulation, and without retreating when intimacy begins to reveal who we really are. What many people interpret as disinterest or rejection is often just emotional unreadiness. A person can be captivated by your presence, moved by your depth, and still be incapable of reciprocating it in the way you deserve. Because love doesn't just demand affection, it demands responsibility. It asks for inner space. It calls for a certain level of integration within the self. When that isn't there, even the strongest connection will feel disjointed, unsteady, or confusing. And that's not always because it's the wrong person. Sometimes it's just the wrong season in their life. People carry stories. They carry unhealed experiences, old heartbreaks, unresolved wounds. And unless those are acknowledged and worked through, they end up playing out in every new relationship. The past bleeds into the present. Intimacy starts to feel dangerous. Vulnerability becomes something to avoid. This is why someone who feels incredibly right for you may still pull away or shut down when things get real. It's not because they don't feel the connection. It's because they do. And that connection threatens the emotional defense system they've built for survival. This is difficult to accept, especially when your intuition is telling you that there is something significant there. But the truth is, connection is only one piece of the puzzle. Timing, which is really a function of personal evolution, matters just as much. Someone has to have enough self-awareness to recognize what's in front of them. They need emotional maturity to honor it and the courage to choose it. Without those things, even the most aligned love can get lost in fear, distraction, or avoidance. But here's where your sixth sense comes in. You may not always be able to explain why you feel so strongly about someone, but something in you knows that their presence is not just a coincidence. You see past their masks. You see potential not just in the romantic sense, but in their capacity to evolve, to heal, to meet you in the depth you crave. That knowing can be painful. because it doesn't come with guarantee. You can't force someone to be ready. You can't rush their growth, and yet the knowing remains. It's important to understand that emotional availability is a spectrum. People don't become ready in a single moment. Sometimes they awaken gradually, often through the experience of encountering someone who shows them a new possibility. This is why some connections seem to haunt a person long after physical distance sets in. It's not about attachment, it's about awakening. You may be the person who introduces them to a version of love they didn't know existed. A version that doesn't manipulate or demand, but instead invites. And that invitation can echo in them, even in your absence. There's a kind of invisible work that happens when you encounter someone whose soul challenge your emotional status quo. They may not act on it immediately. They may even run, but deep down, something in them is stirred. They begin to question the patterns they've accepted, the defenses they've normalized, and over time, those questions lead to growth. Sometimes that growth brings them back. Sometimes it prepares them for someone else. Either way, your role in their evolution was real and meaningful. This is where trust comes in. Not just in the other person, but in the process. Trust that what you feel is not wasted. Trust that your insight into someone's potential is not a delusion, even if it doesn't lead to immediate union. Because growth often happens in silence, in distance, in the moments when everything seems still on the surface, but transformation is brewing underneath. That's the uncomfortable space between emotional connection and emotional readiness. And it's one of the hardest places to be because your heart sees what your reality does not yet reflect. The challenge, then, is not to abandon your knowing, but to hold it lightly, to honor what you felt without clinging to what it must become. That takes strength. It takes maturity to accept that love is not always about possession. Sometimes it's about recognition. Sometimes it's about witnessing someone in a pivotal chapter of their becoming, knowing full well that their journey isn't yours to control. You can inspire someone, but you cannot carry them across the threshold of emotional readiness. That's their work. That's their timing. And yet, your presence matters. The way you loved them, the way you saw them, the way you believed in what they could become, that doesn't disappear just because they weren't ready. It stays with them. It may even guide them. And that is a form of love that is often underappreciated. The love that awakens rather than attaches. The love that plants seeds instead of demanding fruit before its season. So when your sixth sense tells you that someone is meant for you, but the circumstances are not aligning, don't silence that voice, but don't chain yourself to it either. Let it inform you, not imprison you. Let it remind you that timing is sacred, that readiness is not a fixed point, but a moving target shaped by a person's willingness to grow. And that true love doesn't just ask, "Are you drawn to me?" It asks, "Are you ready to meet me here as you are, with nothing hidden, nothing held back?" That is the ultimate convergence, not just of two hearts, but of two journeys. Two inner worlds arriving at a point where fear no longer runs the show. Where love is not a theory, but a practice. Where presence is not performative, but deeply embodied. If we're not there yet, or if they're not, it doesn't make the connection any less real. It simply means the soul is still preparing the ground for something deeper, something more durable, something that can weather the storms without collapsing under the weight of emotional unreadiness. There is something quietly profound about the idea that two people can be destined to love each other, but not destined to remain together in every season. It's a contradiction that is hard for the rational mind to accept, yet the soul understands it intuitively. Sometimes the most powerful connections don't come into your life to complete a picture. They come to shift your perspective, to stir something within you that was dormant. And in that stirring, they awaken a new version of who you're becoming, even if they don't stay. When your sixth sense tells you someone is your true love, that doesn't always mean your paths will merge in a traditional way. It means they carry something vital for your growth, a lesson, a mirror, a challenge, a moment of truth. And sometimes that moment isn't about building a shared life. It's about discovering something within yourself that only their presence could bring to the surface. In that way, love isn't always about possession. Sometimes it's about transformation, and transformation doesn't require permanence to be real. This is a truth many struggle with because we're conditioned to equate love with longevity. We think love proves itself through time, through shared routines, through continued presence. But what if love's real power lies in its ability to leave a mark that time cannot erase? What if a few conversations, a few weeks, or even a single gaze could change you more than years of superficial connection ever could? Some people arrive in your life and press on the exact parts of you that needed awakening. Not because they were sent to stay, but because they were sent to initiate something in you, something sacred, something lasting. These encounters are often uncomfortable precisely because they don't follow a familiar arc. They don't resolve in the way we want them to. There is no clean ending, no defined future, no mutual agreement that ties it all together with a bow. Instead, there's ambiguity, there's longing, that's knowing that something real happened even if no one else sees it, even if it doesn't fit the narrative of what love is supposed to look like. And that ambiguity teaches you something critical. Love is not bound by outcome. It's revealed in presence, in honesty, in the way your soul reacts when it meets another that feels like home. The sixth sense is your inner compass. It doesn't operate on logic. It doesn't need external confirmation. It speaks in feelings, in subtle impressions, in a quiet certainty that defies explanation. When it tells you someone is meant for you, you might feel foolish because your reality doesn't match that inner truth. But you're not foolish, you're just tuned into a frequency most people ignore, a frequency that speaks not to the ego's desires but to the soul's direction. That direction doesn't always point toward togetherness. Sometimes it points toward growth. Sometimes it points toward letting go. Letting go doesn't mean denying the love. It means respecting its purpose. And sometimes the purpose of love is not to anchor you to someone else, but to reveal parts of yourself you wouldn't have seen otherwise. The way they looked at you, the way they understood you, the way they challenged your fears. All of that lives inside you now, and it doesn't require their continued presence to keep unfolding. That's the paradox. The love remains even when the person does not. And that doesn't mean you were wrong. It means the connection served a deeper role. You can mourn the loss without resenting the experience. You can honor the love without demanding more from it. And that takes maturity. It takes emotional strength to love someone fully while releasing the idea that they must belong to you in order for the love to be valid. Most people can't do this, so they rewrite the story to make sense of the dissonance. They say it wasn't real, or I must have imagined it, just to protect themselves from the ache of unfinished chapters. But that kind of rewriting dishonors the depth of what was truly there. You don't need to rewrite it. You can sit in the tension. You can allow the truth to be complex. That you loved someone, that they mattered, that they changed you, and that your paths still diverged. That duality doesn't weaken the story, it deepens it. It invites you to hold life not in black and white, but in the richness of all its color, the joy, the pain, the hope, the release. And here's the strange beauty of it. Sometimes love circles back. Not always, but sometimes. When both people grow in the direction that brings them closer to their truest selves, life has a way of reuniting what never really ended. And if it does return, it will not be as a repeat. It will be as a rebirth. a reconnection between two people who have done their individual work and can now meet each other in a new, fuller way. But whether that happens or not, your task is not to wait. Your task is to become, to allow the love you felt, even in its incompletion, to shape you into someone even more capable of love. Because true love, even when it doesn't last in the traditional sense, leaves you with something permanent. It leaves you with insight, with clarity, with a new standard for how you deserve to feel in someone's presence. That's the lesson your sixth sense came to teach you, not to cling to the person, but to trust the knowing, to let that knowing guide your choices, shape your relationships, and deepen your understanding of what connection really means. In the end, the truth is rarely as simple as they're the one or they're not. Sometimes they were the one for a moment, for a season, for a sacred chapter that altered the course of your life. And that's enough, because real love doesn't have to be forever to be real. Sometimes it just has to be true. And sometimes your sixth sense knows it was. Even if the world never sees it, even if the story never fully unfolds, the truth remains. Written not in outcomes, but in the quiet evolution of your soul. People often walk through life believing that relationships are purely a matter of chance, that love is simply an outcome of proximity, chemistry, or convenience. But that's a dangerous illusion. The truth is far more profound. There exists a design, an order that transcends human comprehension, an invisible thread woven through time, drawing two people toward each other, not by accident, but by divine orchestration. And when that realization dawns upon you, it won't just be surprising, it will be transformative. You see, the greatest misunderstanding about finding a life partner is the assumption that it is purely your decision to make. As if you could, in your finite wisdom, sift through the billions of people in this world and simply choose one based on preferences, attraction, or fleeting emotions. But that's not how it works. The partner destined for you is already known in the grand design of the universe, yet whether or not you recognize them depends entirely on your readiness. You may think you know who they are. At the very least, you may have a checklist of traits, qualities, or physical attributes that you believe are necessary. But what happens when the name, the identity of your chosen partner, completely disrupts your expectations? What if they are someone you initially dismissed? What if they are someone you never considered? That's when you must confront the uncomfortable truth. Your understanding of love, relationships, and destiny may be far more superficial than you ever imagined. The partner meant for you is not someone you chase after in desperation. They are not a prize to be won, nor are they an individual to be molded according to your fantasies. They are a person who aligns with your soul, with your mission, with the path you are meant to walk. And that alignment doesn't come through mere attraction. It comes through deep, tested compatibility, forged in the fires of struggle, sacrifice, and commitment. But here's where it gets interesting. The process of identifying this person is often hidden in the mundane, the overlooked, the seemingly ordinary. You might expect a grand cinematic moment, a flash of divine revelation where the heavens part and a voice declares their name. But more often than not, the truth is revealed subtly through patience, through lessons, through experiences that refine your understanding of what truly matters. You may have already encountered them. Perhaps they are someone you've disregarded, someone you've placed in the category of just a friend. Perhaps they are someone who has been standing steadfastly beside you, quietly supporting you, while you chased after illusions. Or perhaps they are still on their way, waiting for the moment when you are finally prepared to see them for who they are. And that's the crux of it. You must be ready. You must have the emotional maturity to recognize the difference between infatuation and true companionship, between fleeting excitement and enduring partnership. Because if you are not prepared, you will walk right past them. You will misjudge them, misinterpret the signs, and continue chasing what was never meant to be yours. Think about it. How many people sabotage their own destinies because they cling to superficial ideals? How many people let go of the right person because they were distracted by temporary pleasures? How many fail to see what's in front of them because they are too focused on what they believe they deserve? The name of your life partner will shock you, but because it was revealed in ways you never expected. Perhaps they were introduced to you during a season of difficulty when you were too burdened to notice them. Perhaps they were always there, but your heart was too restless, too impatient to recognize their worth. Or perhaps they are someone you haven't yet met, someone who is still being prepared just as you are. But understand this, your partner is not just a companion, they are a mirror. They will reflect your strengths, your weaknesses, your deepest fears, and your highest aspirations. They will challenge you, refine you, push you toward growth. And if you are unwilling to grow, you will reject them, even if they are standing right in front of you. So what does this mean for you? It means that the first step in discovering who your partner truly is not about searching outwardly. It is about refining yourself inwardly. You must become the person who is capable of recognizing and sustaining a true purpose-driven relationship. Because if you are not that person, it won't matter if they appear in your life. You will overlook them. You must develop wisdom, patience, and discernment. You must let go of illusions, of the shallow and fleeting, of the impulsive and reckless desires that cloud your judgment. You must understand that love is not found in instant gratification, but in the quiet, consistent effort of building something real. And so, when the revelation finally comes, when you finally see the name, the identity of the person you were always meant to be with, you will realize something profound. It was about becoming ready to receive them. And when you are ready, you will recognize them, not just with your eyes, but with your soul. People often misunderstand the nature of destiny, believing it to be something entirely predetermined, as if they have no role in shaping their own path. At the same time, others assume that life is entirely within their control, that they alone dictate the course of their relationships and outcomes. The truth, however, lies somewhere in between. While your life partner has already been chosen in the grand design of the universe, it is your choices, your mindset, and your emotional growth that determine when and how you align with that person. This balance between destiny and responsibility is often difficult to grasp because it requires both trust and effort, faith and action. Many people struggle with this paradox, either waiting passively for the perfect partner to appear or trying to force relationships that were never meant to be. Neither approach is effective because both ignore the fundamental truth that destiny is revealed through preparation. If you are not ready, you will fail to recognize what is meant for you, and in that failure, you may delay or even sabotage the union that was divinely intended. Every meaningful relationship requires a foundation of inner growth and self-awareness. You do not simply stumble upon the right person and expect things to fall into place effortlessly. The idea that love should be easy, that the right partner will arrive without challenges, is a dangerous illusion. Even when someone is meant for you, there is still work to be done, lessons to be learned, and personal refinement that must take place. This is why people often overlook the one who is truly meant for them. They are blinded by unrealistic expectations, by fleeting attractions, or by the inability to recognize value beyond surface-level qualities. A person may enter your life destined to walk alongside you, but if you are not in the right state of mind, if you are immature, emotionally unstable, or consumed by superficial desires, you will reject them. The tragedy is that many do exactly this, pushing away the very person who was meant to elevate their lives, because they were too focused on chasing something that was never intended for them. It is important to recognize that choice and destiny work hand in hand. You have the free will to make decisions, to grow, to learn, and to mature. At the same time, there are forces beyond your comprehension guiding you toward what is right for you. But here's where people get it wrong. They assume that if something is meant to be, it will happen no matter what. This is a naive perspective because it ignores the fact that human beings have the ability to resist what is good for them. Just because a person is meant for you does not mean you will automatically recognize them. If you are consumed by selfishness, immaturity, or impatience, you may dismiss them entirely. If you do not understand what a true partnership requires, you may prioritize the wrong things, becoming fixated on superficial standards that lead you further from your destined relationship. The revelation of your life partner is not merely about timing, it is about readiness. If you are not emotionally, mentally, and spiritually prepared, even the perfect match will feel like the wrong person. This is why preparation is not optional, it is essential. Your life partner is not just an accessory to your happiness, they are a mirror, a reflection of your strengths and weaknesses, an extension of your purpose. If you have not built the strength to handle that level of reflection, you will be overwhelmed. Many relationships fail not because the people involved were not meant to be together, but because they were not prepared for the weight of true commitment. They entered a relationship with unrealistic expectations, assuming love would be effortless, failing to realize that deep and meaningful connections require sacrifice, effort, and mutual growth. In contrast, those who take the time to develop themselves, to refine their character, and to understand the weight of commitment are the ones who truly recognize and appreciate the partner meant for them. They do not rely on fate alone, nor do they attempt to control everything. Instead, they align themselves with the principles that attract and sustain real love. Imagine two people who are destined to be together, but who meet at a time when they are not ready. Perhaps one is too focused on personal ambition, neglecting the emotional depth required for a lasting relationship. Perhaps the other is still clinging to past wounds, unable to trust fully. If they cross paths in this state, they may not recognize each other as the right person. They may misinterpret their connection, misjudge each other's intentions, or walk away believing that something is missing. This is not because they are not meant to be, but because they have not yet become the versions of themselves that are capable of sustaining the relationship. Timing is not just about when you meet someone. It is about whether you are ready to embrace them when they appear. Many people mourn lost relationships, believing they missed their chance at true love, when in reality, what they missed was the opportunity to become the person they needed to be in order to sustain that love. This is why destiny should never be used as an excuse for passivity. You cannot sit idly by, assuming that everything will fall into place without your involvement. If you want to align with the person who is meant for you, you must cultivate patience, wisdom, and emotional stability. You must understand what love truly is, not just a feeling, not just an experience of excitement, but a deep, unwavering commitment to build something meaningful with another person. Too many people chase after passion without foundation, attraction without substance, and they wonder why their relationships crumble. The answer is simple. You do not attract what you desire, you attract what you are prepared for. If you lack the discipline, the patience, or the self-awareness to sustain a relationship, it will not matter who is placed in front of you. You will either push them away or sabotage the relationship before it has a chance to flourish. Understanding this truth means shifting your focus. Instead of obsessing over when you will meet your life partner or who they will be, redirect your energy toward becoming the best version of yourself. Ask yourself difficult questions. Are you emotionally stable? Do you understand the value of commitment? Are you prepared to support, challenge, and grow with another person? These are the qualities that determine whether or not you will recognize your destined partner when they arrive. Because here's the reality. Your partner is not hiding from you, and they are not being withheld from you. The only thing standing in the way of that relationship is whether or not you are truly ready for it. The process of discovering your life partner is not an event that happens overnight, nor is it something that unfolds in a predictable linear fashion. It is hidden within the fabric of your personal growth, your challenges, and the lessons you learn along the way. Many people operate under the assumption that they will simply recognize their destined partner the moment they meet them, that there will be some grand revelation, an undeniable certainty. But this is not how divine timing works. The person meant for you is not revealed in a single moment of clarity, but rather through a process of refinement. You may cross paths with them multiple times before you truly see them for who they are. You may even be close to them right now, entirely unaware of the role they are destined to play in your life. The revelation of your partner does not happen when you demand it, nor does it operate on your personal timeline. It happens in alignment with your growth, your maturity, and your ability to comprehend the depth of a true partnership. And if you are not yet ready, that revelation will remain hidden no matter how much you search for it. People often look at their lives and wonder why they haven't yet found the relationship they desire. They assume that delays mean denial, that because something has not happened yet, it never will. This mindset stems from impatience, from an unwillingness to trust the process. If you are not where you need to be, then the person meant for you cannot yet be revealed to you. This is not a punishment, it is a form of protection. A relationship formed prematurely is doomed to struggle because neither person has developed the emotional and mental resilience required to sustain it. Love is not simply about finding the right person, it is about being ready for them. If you have wounds that have not yet healed, if you are carrying unresolved pain, insecurity, or immaturity, then you will not be able to nurture the connection that is meant for you. Divine timing does not operate on human impatience. It unfolds in a way that ensures you are fully equipped to handle the love you are destined for. There is a reason why so many people fail to recognize their true partner, even when they are standing right in front of them. The human mind is often clouded by distractions, by societal expectations, and by preconceived notions of what love should look like. Many people miss what is meant for them because they are too focused on chasing illusions, on seeking validation through fleeting attractions rather than substance. They want passion without patience, excitement without effort, and connection without commitment. But real love does not reveal itself to those who are not prepared to handle it. If you have not yet developed the character required to sustain a meaningful relationship, then no matter how many potential partners come into your life, you will always find yourself feeling unsatisfied, uncertain, or unfulfilled. The problem is not that the right person is absent. The problem is that you are not yet capable of recognizing them. It is easy to look at life and assume that because something is not happening on your desired schedule, it is not happening at all. But divine timing does not work according to human impatience. It works in alignment with your growth, your level of self-awareness, and your ability to steward what is given to you. There are lessons you must learn, disciplines you must develop, and perspectives you must shift before you are ready to fully embrace the relationship meant for you. If love were simply a matter of meeting the right person, then relationships would be effortless. But the reality is that even the strongest connections require work, patience, and resilience. And if you have not cultivated these qualities within yourself, then even if the right person enters your life, the relationship will not thrive. Love is not sustained by mere attraction. You must first cultivate yourself. Water the foundation of your mind and heart and ensure that you are truly in a position to nurture what is meant for you. Because if you are not, then no matter how many relationships you enter, you will always find yourself struggling to hold on. There is a reason why some people seem to meet the right person effortlessly while others spend years searching without success. It is not about luck, nor is it about fate favoring one person over another. It is about alignment. When you are aligned with the principles of patience, growth, and wisdom, the right person naturally comes into your life, not because they were never there before, but because you are finally able to see them. But alignment does not happen passively. You must actively work to become the type of person who can sustain a relationship of depth and meaning. If you are impatient, if you lack discipline, if you are unwilling to confront your own weaknesses, then the person meant for you will remain hidden, not because they are absent, but because you are blind to them. One of the most frustrating aspects of waiting for the right relationship is the uncertainty. You do not always know when it will happen, and that lack of control can be unsettling. But uncertainty is not a reason to despair. It is a reason to trust. When things are not happening on your timeline, you have two choices. You can either become frustrated and impatient, or you can use that time to prepare yourself. And if you truly believe that your life partner is already chosen, then preparation should be your priority, because the moment they appear, you will need to be ready to receive them, to nurture the connection, and to build a future together. Many people assume they will rise to the occasion when the time comes, but the truth is that you do not rise to your expectations. You fall to your level of preparation. So instead of asking why you have not yet met the right person, ask yourself whether you are becoming the right person. Are you cultivating patience? Are you developing wisdom? Are you working on your emotional stability, your purpose, your ability to support and nurture a relationship? These are the qualities that determine when and how your partner will be revealed to you. The process is not meant to frustrate you, it is meant to prepare you. And if you focus on becoming the person who is ready for love, then when the time is right, you will see that the person meant for you has been there all along, waiting for the moment when you were finally prepared to embrace them. The idea that your life partner has already been chosen can be difficult to grasp because it challenges the illusion of control that many people hold on to. People want to believe that they can force relationships to work, that if they try hard enough or choose carefully enough, they can manufacture the perfect partnership, but relationships do not operate according to sheer willpower alone. There is an element of divine orchestration at play, a higher order that ensures the right people meet at the right time, under the right circumstances. The problem is that most people are too impatient to allow this process to unfold naturally. They chase relationships out of loneliness, out of societal pressure, or out of fear of being alone, failing to recognize that forcing something that is not meant to be will only lead to heartbreak and wasted time. A relationship built on force rather than alignment will never bring fulfillment. No matter how much effort you pour into it, if it was never meant to last, it will always feel like an uphill battle. This is why so many relationships fall apart despite both people wanting them to work, because they were never supposed to be together in the first place. There is a distinct difference between choosing someone and being chosen for someone. When you attempt to control love, you often make decisions based on superficial factors, appearance, attraction, financial status, or social compatibility. But none of these things guarantee emotional connection, long-term compatibility, or the ability to navigate life's inevitable challenges. The person meant for you is not someone you choose based on a checklist. They are someone who aligns with your soul in a way that cannot be explained through logic alone. This does not mean that relationships require no effort, far from it. But when something is divinely orchestrated, there is a sense of ease, a natural unfolding that allows the relationship to grow without constant struggle. Many people reject this truth because they do not trust that what is meant for them will find them. They operate out of fear, believing that if they do not take control, they will never find love. But love is not something you chase, it is something you prepare for. When you are in alignment with your true self, when you have done the inner work to heal and grow, the right person will enter your life not as a result of force, but as a reflection of your readiness. It is a painful reality that people often waste